Discoveries dawn. The quantum lab at the Bangalore Institute of Advanced Physics had always been quiet, but today's silence felt different. Dr. Sarah Chen stood motionless before the holographic display, her coffee growing cold beside stacks of data tablets. The numbers floating before her couldn't be right. Yet there they were, mocking everything she thought she knew about quantum mechanics. "Marcus," she called out, her voice cracking slightly. "Marcus, you need to see this." Dr. Marcus Okonjo looked up from his workstation across the lab, his dark eyes reflecting the blue glow of his own displays. He'd been working with Sarah for 5 years on string theory applications, and he'd never heard that tone in her voice before. "What did you find?" he asked, crossing the room in long strides. His tall frame cast a shadow across the holographic numbers as he leaned in to study them. "Look at the quantum string behavior in test series Gamma 7. Sarah pointed, her hand trembling slightly. "They're not just vibrating anymore. They're dancing." Marcus's eyes widened as he processed the data. The quantum strings weren't behaving according to any known model. Instead of random vibrations, they were moving in precise, predictable patterns that suggested something impossible. "We can control them," he whispered, understanding dawning on his face. "Sarah, we can actually control them." Before either scientist could speak further, the lab's security system chimed. Director Patel's face appeared on the main screen, her expression grave. "Dr. Chen, Dr. Okonjo, I need you both in my office immediately. And please, bring your data." The walk to the director's office felt surreal. Security personnel they'd never seen before lined the corridors, their presence a silent testament to how quickly their discovery had been noticed. Inside the office, they found not just Director Patel, but 3 individuals in crisp military uniforms representing different nations. "Please, explain what you found," Director Patel said, her voice carefully neutral. "These representatives need to understand the implications." Sarah took a deep breath and began explaining. As she spoke, the military officer's expressions shifted from skepticism to astonishment. She explained how their research had accidentally revealed a way to manipulate the fundamental strings that made up space-time itself. How this manipulation could, theoretically, allow for controlled folding of space. In simple terms, Marcus added, seeing the confusion on some faces, "We've discovered a way to create stable wormholes. Controlled ones, small enough to be safe, but large enough to be useful." "How small?" one of the officers asked. "Currently, about the size of a proton," Sarah answered. "But the math suggests we could scale it up." "How far up?" another officer pressed. Marcus and Sarah exchanged glances. "Large enough to fit a ship through," Marcus said quietly. The room erupted in contained chaos. Questions flew rapid fire, most of which the scientists couldn't yet answer. How soon could they scale up? What were the energy requirements? Could it be weaponized? The last question made Sarah's stomach turn. "This isn't a weapon," she insisted. "This is a door to the stars." 6 months later, Sarah stood in a massive hangar in the Himalayan mountains, staring up at humanity's first string drive vessel. The ship, designated the TSV Magellan, stretched nearly half a kilometer in length, its sleek hull designed to handle the quantum stresses of controlled space-time manipulation. Marcus appeared beside her, now wearing the uniform of the newly formed Terran Space Initiative. "They're calling it String Drive now," he said, handing her a tablet. "Sounds better than Controlled Quantum String Manipulation Propulsion System, I suppose." Sarah smiled despite her nervousness. Tomorrow, they would begin the first full-scale test of their discovery. The Magellan would attempt a controlled jump to Mars, a relatively short distance to test the drive's capabilities. "Are you ready?" Marcus asked, knowing the weight of responsibility they both carried. Sarah watched as technicians swarmed over the ship, making final preparations. Their discovery had united humanity in a way nothing else had before. The ship represented the combined efforts of dozens of nations, thousands of scientists and engineers, all working together toward a single goal. No, she answered honestly. But when has humanity ever been ready for its next great leap? As night fell over the facility, Sarah made one final check of the string drive calculations. The massive engine core hummed with potential energy, quantum processors spinning up to begin their delicate dance with the fabric of space-time itself. What none of them knew, what they couldn't know, was that their careful calculations had missed something crucial. Something that would turn their simple test jump into humanity's first contact with a universe far more complex and dangerous than they had imagined. The next morning, as the Magellan prepared for its historic first jump, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the edge of something far bigger than a breakthrough in physics. She was right, but not in any way she could have predicted. Ripples across the stars. The Magellan's bridge hummed with nervous energy as final launch preparations were completed. Sarah's fingers flew across her console, double-checking the quantum field configurations, while Marcus coordinated with engineering teams below decks. Captain Elena Rodriguez watched her crew with quiet pride. Scientists and military personnel working together in unprecedented harmony. All systems are nominal, Sarah reported, trying to keep her voice steady. String drive is spooled up to 30% capacity for the Mars jump. Very well, Rodriguez nodded. Begin countdown sequence. The numbers ticked down on the main display. Sarah could feel her heart pounding against her ribs. Everything they'd worked for came down to this moment. The mathematics were solid. The simulations were perfect. There was no reason for the knot of dread in her stomach. 3, 2, 1. Initiate string drive. Reality twisted. There was no other way to describe it. The view through the bridge windows bent like a reflection in a funhouse mirror, then snapped back with a flash of quantum energy that left afterimages dancing in everyone's vision. Position check, Rodriguez ordered, blinking away the spots in her vision. Marcus frowned at his readings. This can't be right. These star patterns, we're not anywhere near Mars. How far off course are we? Rodriguez asked. We're not just off course, Sarah whispered, staring at her own displays. We're not even in the solar system anymore. Before anyone could respond, proximity alarms screamed to life. Multiple contacts were appearing on their sensors, emerging from what looked like tears in space itself. The objects were massive, easily dwarfing the Magellan. Energy readings are off the scale, Marcus reported, his voice tense. Whatever those ships are, they're operating on technology far beyond ours. The alien vessels were beautiful in an impossible way. They seemed to be made of crystalline structures that shifted and flowed like liquid metal, defying the laws of physics as humans understood them. They moved with a grace that made the Magellan feel clumsy by comparison. We're being scanned, Sarah announced. Multiple frequencies, including quantum band readings. They're analyzing our string drive. Captain Rodriguez straightened in her chair. Open all frequencies. Let's hope first contact protocols are good for something. Before she could speak, a voice filled the bridge, or perhaps it would be more accurate to say they felt the voice as much as heard it. Human vessel. It resonated in multiple harmonics. Your presence here is unexpected. Rodriguez took a deep breath. This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the TSV Magellan. We apologize for our intrusion. We experienced an unexpected deviation in our test flight. Test flight. The alien voice held what might have been amusement. You test technologies you barely understand, yet achieve what took other races millennia to master. Fascinating. And concerning. More alien ships appeared, these with markedly different designs. Some seemed to be made of pure energy, others of darkness given form. The bridge crew watched in awe as representatives of what appeared to be multiple alien species took up positions around the Magellan. Your species was not scheduled for contact for another century at minimum, the voice continued. Your development of string manipulation technology has accelerated certain timetables. Sarah and Marcus exchanged looks. Scheduled for contact? Sarah asked. You've been watching us. All developing species are observed. A new voice joined in, this one carrying undertones that made the crew's teeth ache, though few managed to surprise us as thoroughly as humanity has. "Captain," Marcus called out urgently, "I'm detecting massive energy buildups from several of the alien vessels. They're powering up something." "Not weapons," the first voice assured them, though the tension in the harmonic overtones was clear. "Merely containment fields. A precaution, you understand. Your technology is crude, dangerous. The quantum strings you manipulate are far more volatile than you realize." "We've run thousands of simulations," Sarah protested. "The mathematics are incomplete," the voice interrupted. "You see the strings, but not the web. Your equations account for local space-time effects, but not the broader resonance patterns. Each jump you make sends ripples through the quantum fabric of reality itself." Captain Rodriguez leaned forward. "Are you saying our drive is dangerous?" "All string manipulation is dangerous," another alien voice joined in. "That is why it must be carefully controlled, regulated, contained." The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. These advanced species weren't just worried about humanity's rapid development. They were terrified of it. Humanity had stumbled onto something that these ancient civilizations had spent millennia learning to fear. "The Council must be convened," the first voice declared. "Until then, your vessel will remain here, under observation. For safety reasons, you understand." As the alien ships tightened their formation around the Magellan, Sarah pulled up the quantum readings from their jump. There, in the background noise she had dismissed as sensor artifacts, she saw it. Invisible ripples spreading out through space-time like waves from a stone thrown into a cosmic pond. "Marcus," she whispered, "look at these harmonic patterns. The drive didn't malfunction. We were pulled here. Someone wanted us to make this particular jump." "But who?" Marcus asked. "And why?" Captain Rodriguez overheard their exchange and gave them a meaningful look. "I suggest you two find answers quickly. Something tells me our future might depend on it." The Magellan hung in space, surrounded by the combined might of multiple alien civilizations, while its crew grappled with the revelation that humanity's greatest achievement might also be its greatest threat. But as Sarah studied the quantum data, she began to suspect that there was much more to this situation than even their alien hosts were revealing. Unknown to all of them, on the edges of the gathered fleet, ancient devices were awakening. Devices that had been waiting for precisely this moment for millions of years. Hidden agendas. In the Magellan's quantum lab, Sarah stared at data streams that seemed to defy logic. After 3 days under alien observation, they'd been granted limited access to historical quantum readings from their hosts. What she found hidden in those readings chilled her to the bone. "Look at these resonance patterns," she told Marcus, highlighting a series of quantum signatures. "They're identical to the ripples our drive creates, but they're ancient, millions of years old." Marcus leaned closer, his expression troubled. "Someone was using string manipulation technology long before our current hosts. But where are they now?" Before Sarah could respond, Captain Rodriguez entered the lab. "We've been summoned," she announced. "The Galactic Council is ready to see us." The shuttle ride to the massive station that had appeared at the edge of the system was tense. The crystalline vessel that transported them moved without any apparent propulsion, sliding through space like a fish through water. The council chamber defied human architecture. Surfaces flowed into each other without clear boundaries, and gravity seemed to shift direction depending on where one stood. Representatives from 12 different species sat in a circle that somehow managed to make each member appear to be at the head of the assembly. "Humanity," spoke the crystalline elder, its form rippling with colors that hurt the eyes. "You stand before us as both an achievement and a warning. Your mastery of string manipulation is premature." "With respect," Rodriguez replied, "we came here by accident. We're still learning." "That is precisely our concern," interrupted another council member, this one appearing as a swirling vortex of plasma. "You advance too quickly without understanding the consequences." Sarah stepped forward, clutching her data tablet. "We found evidence in your historical records. You're not the first to discover string manipulation, are you? What happened to the ones who came before?" The council chamber fell silent. The very walls seemed to pulse with tension. The precursors, the plasma being finally acknowledged. Yes, they mastered string manipulation before any of us. Their civilization spanned galaxies, and they vanished, added a being of pure darkness, taking entire regions of space with them. Their experiments with quantum strings created instabilities. Marcus's eyes widened. The ripple patterns we detected, they're echoes of that disaster, aren't they? Some are echoes, the crystalline elder confirmed. Others are more immediate. The precursors left behind devices, machines that interact with quantum strings. Most lie dormant, but your arrival has disturbed things best left sleeping. Captain Rodriguez straightened. "You're not just containing us because of our technology. You're afraid we'll activate these devices. They're already activating." A new voice joined in. A figure emerged from the shadows, humanoid, but composed of what looked like liquid mercury. "I am Observer Exile. My species has been tracking precursor energy signatures for millennia. Since your vessel's arrival, we've detected multiple awakening sites." Sarah's tablet chimed. New data was flowing in, quantum readings from across the sector. Devices older than human civilization were powering up, responding to something about the Magellan's unique string drive signature. The precursors were not destroyed. Tile continued. They ascended, using string manipulation technology to transcend normal space-time. But the process was imperfect. The devices they left behind were meant to help them return, once they found a species capable of completing their work. "And you think that's us?" Marcus asked incredulously. "We barely understand our own technology." "That is precisely why." The plasma being pulsed. "You approach string manipulation differently than any species we've encountered. Your equations, while crude, solve problems that have stymied our scientists for eons." "Because we don't know what's impossible," Sarah whispered, understanding dawning. "We haven't spent millennia learning the right way to manipulate quantum strings. We're working from first principles, seeing patterns your scientists have been trained to ignore." The council erupted in overlapping discussions, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of light, sound, and quantum disturbances. Through it all, Observer Exile watched the humans with an unreadable metallic expression. "There is another concern," Exile said finally, silencing the council. "Not all precursor devices are benign. Some were weapons designed to protect their return. If they activate fully, how long do we have?" Rodriguez asked. "Hours, perhaps. The quantum cascade has already begun. Even now, ships from a dozen species are converging on this sector, each hoping to claim precursor technology for themselves. War is coming, Captain, and your ship is at the center of it." Sarah's tablet continued to stream data, showing more and more quantum disturbances spreading across space. The ripples they'd created weren't just waves anymore. They were becoming a tsunami. "We need to get back to the Magellan," she said urgently. "I think I know why our drive created this specific signature. We're not just activating the precursor devices, we're communicating with them." As if in response to her words, alarms began blaring throughout the station. On every display, quantum readings were spiking off the charts. Something vast was stirring in the fabric of space-time itself, and humanity had accidentally given it a wake-up call. The real question was, what exactly were they waking up? Crisis point. The Magellan's quantum core thrummed with energy as Sarah and Marcus raced through calculations. Warning klaxons echoed through the ship as more alien vessels arrived in the system, some diplomatic, others clearly armed for war. "The pattern isn't random," Sarah muttered, her fingers flying across holographic displays. "Our drive signature. It's like a key that fits into a very specific lock." Captain Rodriguez stood at her command station, watching as the tactical display filled with more contacts. "We've got ships from at least 15 different species out there now. Half of them are charging weapons." "Captain," Marcus called out, "I'm detecting massive quantum disturbances from 3 nearby systems. The precursor devices, they're not just activating. They're transforming." Long-range sensors showed impossible structures assembling themselves from quantum strings, vast geometric patterns forming in the void of space. Each one pulsed with energy that made their string drive look like a child's toy in comparison. "New contact," the sensor operator shouted. "Something's coming through." Space itself seemed to tear open, revealing a swirling vortex of quantum energies. From it emerged a ship, if it could be called that. It looked more like a fragment of reality that had been folded in on itself, geometric patterns that hurt the mind to look at directly. "By all that's holy," Marcus whispered, staring at his readings. "That's pure string manipulation technology. They're not using it for propulsion. The entire ship is made of controlled quantum strings." The comm system crackled to life, but instead of words, they felt concepts being inserted directly into their minds. "The key has been turned. The lock disengages. We return." "Precursors," Sarah breathed. More quantum ships emerged from the vortex, each one defying physics in new and fascinating ways. The alien fleet surrounding them reacted with panic, some vessels retreating, others charging weapons, still others trying to approach the precursor ships in seemingly religious awe. "The children fight among themselves," the thought voice continued, "as they always have. But you who turned the key without training, without doctrine, you interest us. We didn't mean to wake you." Rodriguez said firmly, "We were testing a new drive system. Intent matters less than capability. You achieved in decades what these others fear to attempt in millennia. Your species thinks differently." Sarah's console suddenly lit up with new data, pure quantum mathematics that made her previous equations look like simple addition. "This is incredible," she said, eyes wide. "They're showing us how string manipulation really works." "Knowledge freely given is rarely valued," the precursors communicated, "but perhaps a demonstration." Without warning, every quantum sensor on the Magellan overloaded. In space around them, reality began to fold. The precursor ships were creating something, or perhaps revealing something that had always been there. "Multiple ships powering weapons," Tactical reported. "They're targeting the precursor vessels. The children fear what they do not understand," the precursors noted with what felt like sadness. "They believe we return to rule. They do not comprehend that we merely wish to teach." Sarah's eyes snapped up from her console. "The patterns, they're not weapons or engines. They're language. The quantum strings, the ripples in space-time, it's all a form of communication." Marcus joined her at her station, his own eyes widening as he saw what she saw. "The precursors didn't transcend space-time," he said in awe. "They became part of it. They're not ships out there. They're trying to talk to us." But it might have been too late. The alien fleet, driven by millennia of fear and suspicion, had already opened fire. Quantum-tipped weapons that could shred reality itself streaked toward the precursor vessels. "A choice presents itself," the precursors communicated. "Humanity stands at a crossroads. You may retreat, return to your slow development under the guidance of the fearful. Or," Captain Rodriguez gripped her command chair as reality buckled around them. "Or what? Or you may learn to speak as we speak, to see as we see, to become more than what you are, without losing what makes you unique." Sarah's console displayed one final equation, simple, elegant, and completely revolutionary. "Captain," she said, her voice shaking, "I know how to modify our string drive. We can demonstrate that we understand, that humanity is ready for this." Rodriguez looked at her tactical display. More ships were arriving every second. Soon, the entire sector would be engulfed in war, all because of fear of the unknown. "Do it," she ordered. Sarah's fingers flew across her console, implementing changes to the string drive that should have taken years to calculate. But she understood now. The drive wasn't just an engine. It was a voice, and it was time for humanity to speak. The Magellan's quantum core pulsed with new energy as the modified drive spooled up. Around them, reality prepared to change forever. All they could do was hope they were making the right choice. Breaking point. The Magellan's modified string drive hummed with impossible energies as Sarah's changes took effect. Around them, weapons fire from dozens of alien vessels streaked through space, carrying enough power to shred reality itself. But Sarah wasn't afraid anymore. She understood now. Quantum strings stabilized, she reported, her voice steady. Initiating communication sequence. The Magellan pulsed with energy, sending ripples through space-time itself. But these weren't the crude waves of their early experiments. This was language, pure and precise, speaking directly through the fabric of reality. You learn quickly, the precursors communicated, their thought voices filled with something like pride. The alien fleet's weapons fire seemed to pass through the precursor ships without effect, reality itself bending around them. But rather than retaliating, the ancient beings simply waited, watching what humanity would do. All ships, stand down. Rodriguez broadcast on all frequencies. We're not here to fight. We're here to learn. Marcus's console lit up with new readings. The quantum ripples were generating. They're creating a harmonic pattern with the precursor devices. It's beautiful. Through the bridge windows, they could see space itself beginning to crystallize into geometric patterns of pure mathematics. The Magellan floated at the center of it all. Humanity's crude but effective string drive, acting as a translator between the physical and quantum realms. The children fear us because they cannot understand us, the precursors communicated. But you built a bridge without even knowing what lay on the other side. This is why you were chosen. We weren't chosen, Sarah replied, understanding flowing through her as she worked with the quantum mathematics. We were lucky. We made mistakes. We didn't know what was impossible, so we tried anyway. Precisely. The geometric patterns expanded, forming a vast network of quantum strings that connected everything. The precursor ships, the alien fleet, the Magellan, even the space between them. Through these connections, understanding began to flow. The alien fleet received the same revelation the humans had. This was never about weapons or power or transcendence. It was about communication, connection, unity through mathematics. The precursors didn't leave, Marcus said in awe. They've been here all along, woven into the quantum fabric of space itself. We just couldn't see them before. Space and time are one fabric, the precursors explained. All things are connected through quantum strings. We did not ascend or transcend. We simply learned to see the connections that were always there. Sarah's modifications to the string drive weren't just allowing them to communicate. They were allowing them to see reality as it truly was. The quantum strings weren't just theoretical constructs or tools for faster-than-light travel. They were the threads that bound all of existence together. Stand down, weapons, came the voice of the crystalline elder across all frequencies. We understand now. One by one, the alien ships powered down their weapons. The fear of millennia began to fade as understanding took its place. The precursors hadn't returned to rule or destroy. They had simply been waiting for someone to learn how to listen. So what happens now? Rodriguez asked, watching as the geometric patterns continued to spread, connecting more and more of space itself. Now, the precursors communicated, you teach the others. Your string drive is crude, but effective. You see patterns others miss. You try the impossible because you do not know it is impossible. This is your gift to the galaxy. Sarah looked at her quantum equations with new eyes. We can help them modify their own drives, she realized. Show them how to see the patterns, how to speak through space-time itself. Yes, and in return, they will show you wonders you cannot yet imagine. This is not an ending, but a beginning. The Magellan hung in space, surrounded by the combined fleets of a dozen alien species, all connected by a web of quantum strings that had always been there, waiting to be seen. Humanity's greatest achievement hadn't been mastering faster-than-light travel or making first contact with alien life. It had been learning how to listen to the music of the quantum strings that bound all of reality together. "Send word to Earth," Rodriguez ordered, a smile playing at her lips. "Tell them the galaxy is bigger, stranger, and more wonderful than we ever imagined, and we've been invited to help explore it." Around them, reality hummed with the songs of quantum strings, carrying messages of peace, understanding, and discovery across the cosmos. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, not as conquerors or subjects, but as teachers and students both. The future, like the quantum strings themselves, held infinite possibilities.